Hi, good afternoon, and happy Lammas or Lunasa or Lunasada, harvest home, whatever you may call it. Today is August 1st, and so I thought I would do like a little oracle card for everybody. All right, so the deck that I'm using is the Liminal Spirits Oracle by Laura Tempest Zakroff. And the card, it's so fitting for the holiday today because Lammas or Lunasa has that Celtic Anglo-Saxon overtone. And the card is inspiration, which you see a cauldron here, which, that very like Celtic motif, the cauldron of wisdom or the cauldron of immortality, which is the prototype for the later on for the Holy Grail. So what this card is saying is, inspiration is abound at this time. So what it's saying is basically that there is no such thing as a coincidence, especially for us spiritual people. There's always like little signs, little hints, little things that are guides, that the deities, that our ancestors, whoever give us these little hints. So it's saying to pay attention for those hints, not to actively seek them, because sometimes when you actively seek for signs, you think everything is a sign, like the pigeon crossed the road, and that's no. Sorry, like sometimes life is just life, but when something kind of like strikes at random, and you're like, oh, that's interesting, and you're not really expecting it, that's when it happens. That's when that inspiration strikes, from the other side. The second thing it's saying is kind of more of that in this new cycle coming up with the new moon in Leo, and my astrology friends would probably know more about this, like the Lionsgate portal with the constellation of Sirius, that there is just new opportunities coming. And sometimes we have to think outside the box. Now, me as a stereotypical Taurus, sometimes I don't like to think outside the box. It can be stubborn as hell. But, being a Gemini rising, sometimes I do think outside the box. And what it's important is saying to experiment. Okay, for spiritual people, we like sometimes to go by like a freaking recipe book with our magical works and everything. And sometimes it's better to just be inspired and look what's in your kitchen cabinet for the herbs, instead of like, oh, I'm gonna order this on Amazon, or I'm gonna buy it. What's in your garden, what's in your neighborhood, what's in your kitchen cabinet. um you know think outside the box. Don't always go because you follow someone, like I try to make some recipes that my mom makes or my grandmother makes, and it's never tastes the same. Why? Because I'm a different person. Because everyone goes by their instincts. So a lot of spiritual stuff is like cooking. It's not going to be the same for everybody. And you know what? That is okay. You don't have to follow everything like it's in a recipe book. So and when we're talking about physical things, try something new. Go to some new place. Um, Try a new activity or something. If we keep doing the same things over and over, we can't expect change in our lives when there is stagnation. If we keep going, you know, in the same patterns or doing the same thing, it just leads to stagnation. So there has to be a healthy flow. That's the second message. And the third is, you know, ideas come spontaneously with this inspiration card. So even if the idea sounds totally ludicrous, try it out. What's the worst thing that could happen? So I know for some of us, me especially, like I don't like, going against the grain. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I surprise myself when I do. But I'm not usually a person that goes against the grain. I tend to be very traditional with certain things, but then sometimes you have to kind of, force yourself out of that mode and do something new or try something new, or, you know, don't be afraid to experiment with certain things, because, just because this way has worked because it says it in a book, or something like that, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Just like that recipe, just because you can follow all the steps, but it's still not going to taste like how your grandmother or your mom made it. It's just not, because you are you and you are not them. um, so inspiration, okay? Be inspired to change, you know? And when we change the world around us. So remember that. Even the smallest action that we do, we don't know what the ripple effects it may have on others, you know? So even our small acts of kindness, our small acts that we do every day, the little detours we may take, those small changes, they may not seem much now, but then, have you ever looked at, um, whether you read cards for yourself or if you got reading from others and you've gone, and I've done this actually recently, you go back to those notes that you took from those readings and you really see, you know, what has come about, by following the advice that, the reading gave or so forth. Because, that's why it's good to have records of things. You can always see the progress, so you may not see it at the time, but then when you go back and reflect on it later, you're like, wow, that really helped me in this situation. So be inspired, be the change. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. And, as it's the harvest time in many cultures, whether it's Lunasa or Lammas or, whatever you celebrate, be grateful, and I'm thankful for all of you. Take care.